G'day everyone, and welcome to today's episode, a very important and very intriguing and kind of special episode. It's all about the Yowies today. Previously on this channel, I brought to you a energetic communication with a Yowie from my friend Fifi, who if you want to know more about her, check out the first video. The little link up is up in the box there. Fifi has basically been put to work again, communicating with a Yowie, what we believe to be a Yowie, that populates the area near where I have my base camp Bobby. And let me tell you some of the answers. If there's even a flake of validity to it and legitimacy to it, then it's huge. I've got answers to questions that people have asked for a very long time. And you can put as much weight into it as you want, but at the end of the day, we got answers. Let's just get this out of the way. This episode is speculative. I can't prove to you what I'm saying is true. I can't prove to you it's not true. As we move forward with this process, I am going to be looking for some kind of validation, but we can't get that at the moment. It's too early in the process. So what we're doing today is asking round 2 of questions. So what I've done is I've got questions from myself and a couple of close allies, and then we also have questions from all my followers. I put a call out a little while ago to give me your questions that you want to put to a possible Yowie in this process, and I've collated them all. I had 40 questions in total, and I've put them to the Yowie through Fifi, and we've got some answers back. We're going to cover all sorts of topics today. I'm not going to give you any hints at all what they are. What I am going to tell you to do is kick back, relax, grab a drink and enjoy. This is Paranormal and Cryptid Adventures. So before we get to the questions, I'm just gonna say a big thanks to Brendan. Now Brendan is a viewer of the channel, and Brendan reached out to me and actually financed this session. So Brendan, you're an absolute legend, man, and you know how much I appreciate it. We've communicated how much I appreciate it. I always get really awkward accepting anyone paying for things for me or giving gifts to me. I'm just one of those people. But anyway, let's get to the question. Okay, so the way this is going to work, I'm not going to pretend to memorize. There's 40 questions and 40 answers, so I'm going to be reading off my phone. So I hope you guys are cool with that. I know it's not quite professional, but that's okay. So I'm looking to split this into a couple of videos because some of the information here needs discussion, needs analysis. It needs time to sink in. If I chuck all this information on one video, it's going to be too much, and a lot of the really good nuggets of data that I've got here, they're going to go missing. So today we're going to cover basically the first half of questions, and then we're going to look at the second half in our next video. So I'm not trying to milk this out. I really honestly believe that a lot of this data needs some in-depth discussion and analysis. So to start with, I put 10 questions out there, and we're going to lead with my 10 questions. They're a little bit more logistical, they're a little bit more relating to my situation and my campsite, but there's still some really, really interesting information that comes from it. Such as the very, very first question that I got Fifi to ask the Yowie. Now, Fifi does distant communication and healing, and she does it through a process called high sense perception. Now, I don't know anything about that. I know it involves energy. I know it involves a lot of stuff that I can't do, and yeah, it's a pretty unique skill or gift that she has. So that's how she goes about this, and let's get to the questions, because I've already yapped for a minute. Let's get to the questions. Now, the first question that I wanted to know if this being that we're communicating with had a name. Now, for the purpose of this video going forward, I'm going to assume that yes, it is a Yowie, and that yes, it is real. Again, these videos are highly speculative, so you got to go along with it a little bit if you want to get something back from it. So I asked the Yowie, do you have a name? What do you like to be called? He said, yes, I have a name, and his name is Najikam. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it. Najikam? Najikam? N-A-D-G-I-C-A-M-B. Najikam, Najikam. I'm not quite sure how it's pronounced, but we have a name. So this is very, very valuable. Because when I go out on site now, if I'm doing meditations or if I'm doing anything at all, I have a name with which to reference. So that is really, really cool. I then asked Najikam if he knows where my camp is, where base camp Bobby is. And much to my joy, the answer was yes. So that is very, very cool. In the first communication, I gave information to Fifi for her to relay, and he seems to be aware of my location. So that is very, very good. That means if he chooses, he can come to me. Something which, to me, it just makes everything a little bit cooler, knowing that they know where I am. I asked him, has he ever visited my camp before? He said no. So as far as he's aware, as far as he's concerned, he's never come to my camp. So there's that. I asked him, would he ever be interested in visiting my camp? To which he, apparently there was a long pause, and to which he said, now I'm reading this word for word, okay? Depends who is present, but also who has the capacity to see spirit. And that is going to be a major thread throughout these communications. And I'm not going to spoil it yet, just keep watching. But that line, depends who is present and depends who has the capacity to see spirit. Keep that in mind. Next question I had, remember these questions are all written in advance. It wasn't a dynamics process. There were 40 questions sent to Fifi and she just went down the list. I asked, have you ever observed or watched me? His answer was no. So that's good, because in a way, if he said yes, my mind would have been going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I'm kind of glad the answer was no, because that keeps me a little grounded, to be fair. I said, have you seen the gifts or the gifting area that I've created for you? And he said no. So that's interesting, which tells me that when it fell before, it was either an animal or a different Yowie or a person or the weather. It wasn't him that knocked it down and sent it flying. I would argue it was probably a possum jumped on it and it wasn't secured and flipped it all up. Now this is really interesting. This is where I'm going to need some of you guys to chip in with your 2 cents here. The question was, what gift would you like for me to leave you? And the answer was Dreamtime Life. Now, I know a fair bit about Dreamtime, or at least as much as a white bloke can know about Dreamtime. I teach it in high school, I've read a lot of books, I have conversations with people, and I think I have a fairly good understanding of the level of Dreamtime knowledge that I'm allowed to have. Dreamtime Life. Now, the Dreamtime was a time of creation. It was a time of breathing life into a dream, as it were. Creation was but a dream. And the Dreamtime sent life into that dream and created everything we know. So Dreamtime Life, does that just mean natural stuff? That's really throwing me for 6. Dreamtime Life. I don't understand it. I then asked him, is there any way that I can let him know when I'm nearby? Because I've always thought if I walk in and send an intention or say a certain thing, that he might go, oh, he's here. I always just wanted to know. It was nagging away at me. He said no. He said there's no way I can let him know. Now I'm assuming if I was more adept in spiritual communication that I might be able to, but me being me, how I am at the moment, no. There's nothing I can do to let him know I'm in the area, which means that it's going to have to be either up to his perception, I don't know if he has that ability to sense that I'm in the area, or sheer fluke. Sheer fluke is a 1 in a million visit, so I hope it's not that. Okay, now this was interesting. I said to him, I'll read it word for word. Would you be open to allowing me see you on the promise that I won't film? Now, some people will understand that and some people won't. They'll say, you have a YouTube channel, dude, as if you're not going to film it. The whole journey here is not all about the YouTube channel. I love this channel. I put a lot of time into this and my other channel, let's not pretend. And if I was obviously to film a Yowie, that would be huge for me. But on the promise that I won't film is just for me, just for the knowledge, the relationship, the experience, just to build on something that may help these guys and us in the future. And he said that yes, he would be open to it. But what he said next is really... Okay, bird, thank you. But what he said next really spun me out a bit. I'm going to read. He said, yes, thumb on 6th chakra to awaken it. Now the 6th chakra is your 3rd eye chakra up here. So is he now suggesting that if he allows me to see him, it will only be in spirit form, in non-physical form? And this just raises a whole bunch of questions that I'm not going to get into because I'm saving them for later. Thumb, I'm not sure if like that, if like that, if like that, I'm not sure. But what he's basically saying is awaken my 3rd eye and he would be open for me to see him. Now, is that because I need to open my third eye to be able to see him? If you don't know what the third eye is and awakening it or opening it, you need to Google that yourself. I can't go into that here. It's a whole process. It's a whole thing. But it's taking it into a whole other level of spiritualism, of mysticism. It's pushing it way up there. So he's saying that, yes, he will allow me to see him if I can open my third eye. So I don't know if that means I've proven myself to a certain level, a certain adeptness that I'm now worthy, or if I physically need to open my third eye to view him that way, which means that I wouldn't see him in the physical. I'd see him through another reality. So, I mean, this is going down the rabbit hole. And as I used to say, welcome to Paranormal and Cryptid Adventures, sometimes it's gonna get a little weird. Definitely applies today. My final question, the rest are questions of other people that I asked him is, are you able to make yourself invisible to the human eye? Now, I left this vague. It could be through camouflage, it could be through frequency, it could be through, different light frequency, it could be through portals, it could be through anything. But I just wanted to know if he had the ability to avoid detection. And he answered yes. He said yes, he does. He can make himself invisible to the human eye. And he says yes, like previous answer. Third eye. So he can make himself invisible to the human eye through something to do with awakening the third eye, which tells me he is not fully of this physical world. It seems to me that he, as many indigenous cultures say, they walk between worlds, that they can move from one world to another. So yes, he has the ability to make himself invisible to the human eye, and has something to do with the crown chakra or the third eye, awakening the third eye. So again, we're going mystical, spiritual, access to other realms, other realities, other dimensions. Whew. It's already getting deep and we haven't even got to the good stuff. Okay, so that'll do it for my questions. Now we're getting to other people's questions. If you guys remember on the Yowie Campout Experiments 1, I mentioned Uncle Peter. Now, Uncle Peter's thrown a few questions at me and I really like them, so they're going basically first off the rank for non-me questions. His first question: what can we do to assist you all in your quest to look after sacred Mother Earth? Now, we know that these guys, well, you're going to find out, these guys are very, very connected to Mother Earth. So it's very important to them that we stay true and we stay pure and we look after this place. I've mentioned before how they don't like humans because of what we do to the planet. So I think it's important that we're aware of that going forward. And the answer to that question was, there was a sad feeling. Fifi said she got a distinct, again, just like last time, a really sad, heavy feeling, and said, Dreamtime practices honor the sacred life. Dreamtime practices honor the sacred life. Again, people with a significant grounding in Dreamtime mythology or in indigenous ways may have to elaborate on that. Is that just following Dreamtime law in our interactions with Mother Earth, in which case that makes sense. Respect, honor, all that kind of stuff, which we, on the whole, we don't do. Next question: how do your family units operate? As in matriarchal, patriarchal, male-led, female-led, etc. Now, short answer here, said individual beings from spirit. So he's suggesting that they don't live in family units, but are more individual beings born of spirit? I'm not sure. We know they operate in tribes or clans that, many of them can be together at once, but I think he's saying they don't have mothers and fathers. So what would be all the things about seeing baby Bigfoots, baby Yowies, baby Sasquatch? So that's an that's a weird one. I don't quite get how that works. He's saying that they all derive from spirit. So this is a sort of life form that we are not familiar with. I'm not quite sure how that works. Are they ghosts? I'm not sure how that is. Are they incarnated, their soul incarnated into a physical body here, so they don't consider themselves to be born? I don't know. But the next answer ties into it. Peter asked, what is your average age? What's your average lifespan? And they said, we are eternal. We are eternal. And they said, we are eternal, like we are spirit, we are eternal. So does that mean, it all goes into my head and rattles around and falls out my butt. Does that mean that they are bouncing from body to body, and they're talking about their soul, because if they're talking about the soul, we are eternal as well. Like, I don't know how specific they're being here. Maybe our questions need to be more specific. Maybe we need to say, how long does your physical body live for? What happens to your physical body when it dies? I'm going to ask that question next time. Because if they think we're referencing their soul, their essence, who they are, then of course they're eternal, because they're spirit. We are as well. But we have a physical body that lives and dies. So that question is going to need more questioning. Now, the next two questions come from Brendan, the big dollar man himself. All right, so Brendan's question. Brendan asked 3 questions overall, one's coming a little later. Brendan's question, do you think that there could be any positive benefits to mutual contact? If so, would you be comfortable with keeping memories, recordings of the meeting to show others? And this was quite a lengthy answer for a Yowie. Apparently they're very short and to the point. I don't think your devices can record spirit and outside of 3D, question mark. And it's individual experience of us and the spiritual wisdom of that person. So again, and it's the individual experience of us and the spiritual wisdom of that person that clearly counts. So is that suggesting that people will have different experiences when they were to meet a Yowie? In which case, are they more of a thought form? They take the form that we most expect? That's a mind blower. Are they literally saying, is Najikam literally saying that experience will vary depending on individual? Does that explain all the different types, all the different sizes, all the different shapes, all the different faces, all the different feelings, angry, sad, aggressive, happy? Does that explain it? Perhaps their bodies are a temporary form for when they're here. Why are they even in the physical realm? I don't know, but perhaps they don't have a formal temporary body. Is it created? Is it projected based on someone's own beliefs? Now this is getting truly down the rabbit hole. But I believe they're suggesting, just possibly, that they don't have a permanent physical form. And again, I'm going to ask them that question in the next series. Not the next video coming, the next step of questions that we'll do in a few months' time. So it varies from individual to individual. Very, very interesting stuff. I told you this was good stuff. Now, Brendan also asked, is there anything that you want to know about us? Nope, nothing. They don't want to know anything about us. They either know it all or they don't care. So that's pretty definitive. So that'll do it for this episode. We're going to have more of these questions coming in part 2 of this communication. I hope you enjoyed that. There was a lot to take in. There was a lot to digest. And I think of a lot of juicy information. So thank you very much for watching. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.